I'd like to call to order the joint board meeting for Western Lane Fire and EMS Authority, Israel Valley Fire and Rescue, and Western Lane Ambulance District at March 26th, 2026, and we'll open at 6:03. Somebody stand and join me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will we do a roll call?
Yes, we'll start with Western Lane WLFEA directors. Cindy Russell. Here. Linda Stent. Here. Mike Webb.
Here.
Adam Holbrook.
Here.
Vanessa Buss.
Here.
SVFR and WLFEA directors Stephanie Restrepo. Jim Polisi.
Here.
David Corello.
Here.
Lori Heppel.
Present.
Keith Stanton.
Here.
All right, looks like there's quorums for all three entities. Public comments? Moving on, we have a very special guest tonight. We have Sheriff Carl Wilkerson. He is here to, a year ago or so, we had questions about escape routes and activation zones in the board meetings. And so the sheriff came over to introduce himself and maybe answer any questions that you might have. So with that.
Everybody hear me around?
Yeah.
Good evening, thank you. My name's Carl. I've been your sheriff now for about 8 months, so thank you for having me here tonight. Really what I'm here for tonight is I want to introduce myself and start some relationship building. So thank you. I had a meeting with a couple of people over here in Florence, I'd say probably about a month and a half or so ago. And it was brought up to me that there were some concerns, potentially from this bodies, I should say, about kind of what the county's plan is for evacuation planning. What kind of conversations have happened about tsunami, if we can do evacuations for that. And so though I am not the expert in that, I wanted to come over and chat with you guys and answer what questions I could for a little bit of that. In regard of, unfortunately, we at the Sheriff's Office have gotten pretty good at evacuations over the last few years, primarily over on the eastern side of the county. But if you recall, we actually had to evacuate the city of Oak Ridge at one point because of the fire. So we've got a system down when it comes to evacuations and how we do it, how we make communications, and how we document those notifications. To include, we've got a really kind of robust tablet system where we can go contact families, find out who's staying, who's going, you know, how many people should be there, what their prayer needs are, things like that. And so it's in my opinion that we can take that exact system and use it if we had to do a tsunami type evacuation, or frankly, it's been a pretty dry winter. Who knows? There's some wooded area we could have a fire danger here as well. So that is something that I think that we can do fairly easy. There is one small problem that's similar to Oak Ridge, and that is, you know, most of my staff are centrally located, but at the same time as it takes to get here, it's about the same time it takes to get to Oak Ridge. So that part is kind of consistent. Also, like Oak Ridge, if you know a highway gets shut down, you're kind of shut off. And we've experienced that with Oak Ridge. I know you guys have experienced that during flooding events over here. So I understand that need. One of the things that we have talked about doing, by the way, I'm getting a new search and rescue manager who is kind of my expert in doing evacuations, and he's got a lot of experience in this. But the county emergency manager position has been recently replaced, and I don't think I'm at liberty to say who the new person is, but I can say really clearly that we have an excellent relationship with that person, and that person has a lot of experience in this regard when it comes to the evacuation planning and evacuation execution, excuse me. And that person is gonna be easy to work with for both the city of Florence and the district, so. I think that person will likely, I've already talked to them about seeing about maybe coming over and having an introduction session, much like I'm doing tonight, as soon as they're on. With that, I will say that I'd really just like to answer any questions that I potentially answered for you all. And I wasn't planning on doing a huge presentation, but I want to see some faces, say hello, and then find out who in the future I need to probably, spend more time chatting with and making plans with. So.
Thank you. Any questions?
I'm happy to start off. It's been a concern of mine, particularly the outlying areas, Swiss Home, Deadwood, the remote areas. When something happens like a wildfire, it's probably going to be right on the doorstep when it comes up. So what's the communication method that we can have or you can have if power goes out and they're in need of evacuation? How are they going to know where to go?
So first thing is, and this is not going to be the most efficient mechanism for everybody, especially the people in that area, there's no power. But our social media is really the quickest, fastest way to get anything out. We also have the reverse 911s. We have the new system Genesis that we're going to have online here pretty soon with the state that can use cell phone messaging based on grids and all. We have the whole county up in grids for those systems now. So the cell phone notifications in some of those areas, if they have cell phone communication, is probably the quickest way that we're going to be able to get that word out. But we have experienced in the past, again, in more remote areas like up McKenzie Highway, where not all that stuff's available. And what we do is we push the big red button, and I guess we call everybody in, and we flood the area to include our situation volunteers, a couple hundred of them, to start making notifications. And we try to, there are those incidences like the holiday farm fire where we had no of them. And those incidences where we have a fire and we have some planning time. And really it's dependent on what kind of situation we're in, how we do that. But we really use the ready, set, go model on making sure that people understand, hey, you're in this zone, you need to be ready. So that means you better have your stuff packed and good to go and go. Again, we've experienced both, like holiday farm fire where there was no warning, and frankly, I've seen some of the most heroic stuff I've ever seen in my life that night. Between the deputies, fire personnel, public works personnel, just really putting themselves at risk to get people notified and out of the system. So it's kind of a stage 4 approach based on where it is and what the resources available are for that area.
So is the county tied to watch duty and that as well?
So we're not directly tied to it, but they report immediately on our notifications. So they follow us and then report. So not everything that comes through watch duty. I really like the program. I keep it on my phone. Oftentimes I find out about things first from them. But they are not, our information is not tied to them. They just report our information. So not everything they report is coming from either the emergency manager or the sheriff's office. It could be other sources. So just know that I really like them. I think they do a good job, but not everything they say is a direct report from us or anything.
So when they issue the level 1, level 2, level 3, is it pretty much real time coming from county or from the state?
It's been hit or miss when it to say real time. I've noticed that they're a little bit slower on the scale down side of things than when we release, but they're pretty consistent with the go side of things.
Is the chain of command generally to call 911 that goes to the sheriff's office and then we just distribute it, or does it, how that work?
So there's not always an emergency operations center stood up. It'll get stood up as soon as it's decided that it's necessary. But you guys being in Western Williams County have a PSAP here or a 911 center, which is actually housed at Florence Police Department. So any 911 calls that come in from this region, go to Florence. they transfer them to us.
Okay.
And then we decide what.
So you would be the command center essentially distributing.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, as folks in the fire service probably recognize, the command center usually is, you know, the highest ranking person on scene until things get a little bit farther. So, and that's true with almost all of our emergencies too, is, you know, a sergeant shows up and that's the boss until you get enough resources in the area that you actually start establishing, you know, forward operating centers or pods or EOCs or any of that stuff. So we've had some major incidences that never got to an EOC because people like you all do a really good job of knocking them down before you can get the whole actual count EOC involved.
So you focus on unincorporated areas?
Yes.
How would that work with Florence?
So let's just say, because it's obvious, that we had a tsunami. My guess is, this is all hypothetical to some degree, is that we would immediately start sending people over here and we would immediately join whatever Florence's EOC would be. Because they will probably already have it off the ground and that would probably become off the order of things. And that's the conversations I've had with their internal agents recently. So, that's not to say that that would be more like an FOB versus probably the county would establish a county EOC as well. Just so everybody is aware, the emergency operations department is not part of the sheriff's office. We just work very closely with them because obviously, much like we work closely with fire and closely with our community partners, the police department, the state police, like that. And that's something I will say too is that historically we've had a really good relationship with both Florence Police and the state police outpost here, and the troopers here are like deputies as far as I'm concerned. They jump in and help us everywhere. So I think they would immediately kind of, you know, all hands on deck with us as well.
So is it a unified command with Florence PD, or are you guys more of a liaison between Florence PD and county OES? Or
So I would say it's more of a unified command depending on the circumstance. If it's something that's both city-based and county-based, I would say that's a unified command. If it's in the Florence area and it's not really impacting the city, then I would think it would be more of a based on this. I think it's going to be dependent on the need of the circumstance.
Any other question?
You made this really easy for me. I really appreciate you guys letting me come over tonight. I would love to, chiefs, directors, staff, I'd love to continue this conversation more in the future. I know that one of the conversations that is being had right now is to do a much grander tabletop over here for this. So I look forward to participating with you all on that, and feel free to give me a call. I love this area, especially during salmon season. So thank you very much.
Thank you. With Julie.
And you're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like.
Well, my wife just got home after being away for 30 days, so it's tempting, but not fast.
30 days, couple hours.
And I'm going to put my cell phone on one break. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Appreciate you all.
Drive safe, you know. Appreciate it.
All right, up next we have.
Pass.
You can't run it. Up next, when she returns, we have Melissa House to give us a program update. Sure. Yeah, we can move on though to the consent agenda. She's going to chat for a little bit, which consists of meeting minutes from our February meetings, staff reports, and correspondence. Is there anything any of the directors would like to take out for discussion?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a motion to approve the,
So moved.
Second.
Second.
so we have a motion by Director Webb and a second by Director Russell. We do a roll call.
Starting with Western Lane and Wolfia Director, Cindy Russell,
Yes.
Linda Stent, Mike Webb,
Yes.
Adam Holbrook,
Yes.
Vanessa Buss,
Yes.
SVFR Wolfia Directors, Stephanie Restrepo, Jim Polisi,
Yes.
David Carrillo,
Yes.
Lori Heppel,
Yes.
Keith Stanton.
Yes.
Mine was yes, but I believe I was muted. Sorry for that.
Thank you.
All right, I believe Melissa's ready. Your program update.
So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on how Western Lake Crisis Response is growing and what the future, or what we're planning the future to look like a little bit. So a quick update on our call volumes. They've increased drastically lately. Just from 2023, we had 485 calls. In 2024, it went up to 602 calls. And in 2025, it went up to 884 calls. And just in the first 2 months of this year alone, we've had 128 calls, and we just imagine that those numbers are going to continue to go up. We're doing a good job about getting the word out on what we do, and we're definitely getting a lot more response from not only community members and other agencies, but individuals themselves that are in crisis, recognizing that they can just call us too. So as staffing, we're doing really well on staffing, but because we are growing, we're going to be hiring an two additional part-time responders. One of them will be able to get their QMHA within the first month or two of coming on board. And that really helps us bring our team to a total of 10 responders, 6 QMHAs, and 4 peer supports, which is important because we have to have a QMHA and a peer support on every call. So it gives us a little more flexibility with our schedule. And in your board packet, you'll notice there's a part-time responder job description. That's just an update of what we currently have. The other one was pretty old. And then there's also a transport driver job description, which is new. So what we're going to be doing is starting a pilot program, and we're running this off of the carryover money that we got from year 2 SAMHSA into year 3. So it'll be a pilot program that will allow us to transport individuals, not just within the community, because we're already doing that, but over the hill to Eugene, Springfield, or anywhere in the county. To start with, it'll be Monday, Wednesday, Fridays from 8 to 8. And these will be field vetted transport. So the board, and in the vehicle, we're going to call over to whether the shelter or the living or detox facility, we're going to make sure we have that. And it'll also make us more a little bit easier, and that continuity of care will also be easy. We're also going to try to make an agreement with different facilities over there so that we can keep track of when they're discharged and coming back to our community and stay involved and continue to help them so they don't fall through the cracks. I also wanted to just say that Wilker is able to respond without law enforcement anywhere in our district area. And that is one of our biggest goals, is to relieve law enforcement from seeing or prevent them from going along with fire. So Cindy and I are going to be meeting with Lane County Dispatch in a few weeks so that we can learn about how Lane County is dispatching calls, especially in our area, and to give them a little bit more of an idea of what policy can go on, since it is a lot more than Lane County crisis response team goes on. And then Riverview Center for Growth in Lane County had a crisis and stabilization program specifically for youth, but the funding was cut. So Lane County Behavioral Health has asked us to step up in our area and make sure that we're supporting youth for crisis services and stabilization. It's not going to be a huge change for us because we've already been doing that. So it's just going to be more reporting requirements that we send to the county, but we definitely still, we have about 5 to 10 youth that we work with every month. And kind of some wins that we've had in the last few months. We received an award from SDAO for an outstanding special district program under WLFEA. And there was an article about that published in her site use fund. And then on March 11th, there was also another article highlighting the collaborative effort between Western Crisis Response, Florence Police Department, and EPS Humane Society on a complex hoarding case that resulted in a safe living environment and access to in-home care. Before, caregivers were not going into that home to provide services, and we've got that home to a point where now they're coming in and she's flourishing. She's also has 2 cats that we took to the Humane Society, got them some treatment and support, and she has the cats back now too. And she's doing really well. And then Chief Schick and Chief Chance decided to move the MIH program under my management. For that. So it's still going to be 2 separate programs. I'm just going to be overseeing them both. We're hoping to increase, on the MIH side, we're hoping to increase awareness of what he's doing on the Peace Health side, so it's a shared position, and what he's doing for us. And there's a lot of crossover for what Western Lake Crisis Response does in MIH on the social service side. So we've been supporting him in that position as much as we can, and we're hoping within the next couple of weeks to start really tracking the metrics on that and getting some numbers out there for you guys to see how that's growing and changing. Okay, the last thing, we are applying for a Bureau of Justice Assistance grant, a BGA grant, through the DOJ. It's a pretty significant grant. It'll be $3 million. We're not requesting the full $3 million, but just under it for the next 3 years. And this is going to support our transportation services and eventually expanding that into 24/7 transportation, especially with the consideration of Lake County stabilization coming up. And then the first year in the grant, we will overlap with SAMHSA. So the first year of the DOJ grant will be to support our transportation, and then years 2 and 3, then we'll pick up where SAMHSA leaves off. So it'll extend our SAMHSA grant and our services basically another 2 to 3 years. So we have that time to work on our sustainability plan through Medicaid billing and CCOs. That is pretty much all. And if there's any questions on the job descriptions, or if you have any questions, I can answer them.
When you said that Lane County wanted to ask you to up your involvement with stabilization of the youth, are they also upping any money to you for that service? Is there a way that you can approach that?
We discussed it. It would have to be, their budget for us is already set for this year, so it would have to be next year's conversations, and they have to take that to the state for approval.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah. They can't a lot of work. That's all. I was looking at their stats. Their call volumes, I mean, last month alone was 3.2 calls a day for service. So in
Lane County by the state, and we're mandated by OJ to provide those services. So we just need to make sure that we're not getting paid to provide that service and getting paid by the hospital to provide that same service.
Hey, if you can get away with it.
Anything else?
Yeah, it is.
Next, Trish has the monthly financials for us.
So the month of February has been kind of boring, other than putting together the budget. In your board packet, you will see that the WHA has submitted their budget forecast to us. So we're currently looking at budgeting all of our insurance at around 10%. We're still waiting for those hard numbers. We're also still waiting for the AFG grants reimbursement. The GEMT funds are currently coming in. You won't see them in this month's or the February reports that are in your current packet. You'll see them next month that we're starting to get those GEMT funds. And we're currently at about half of what we budgeted. And we're expecting more than what we budgeted. We're expecting 112,000, almost 113. And then the only other thing that we've really been doing is testing payroll software that will work with the current managers.
Yeah, I sort of was trying to figure out when I was reading all of this about the billing for EMS function. And it showed that in the bar.
Oh, the EMS reports. Okay.
Yeah, it showed that a lot of those claims are denied. I mean, in bucks. And I was looking at that and going, so we're not getting the Medicare reimbursement. And it shows that it's been submitted, but they denied it. Am I reading that correct?
Are you referring to the disallowed piece?
Yes.
Reflected?
Yes.
Yeah, so we submit it in with Medicare.
Right.
Yeah, they tell us, okay, this is what that call's worth, and depending on, BLS 1, BLS 2, ALS 1, ALS 2. And then they just say, here's what you get, and then so the rest, depending on what our charges are, is different.
So is that a one-time deal? You don't get to retry again?
Nope.
So they only give you one shot and they say,
So Jim, I brought this up several times, I think, about trying to get together with somebody to find out if we can review those disallowed and see if we have opportunities for documentation.
yeah,
Any opportunity to get more funding out or more monies out of that, and having so much disallowed. It seems to me like it's gotten worse over time. So I would still be,
insane.
whatever that looks like, I'm happy to dive into that and maybe figure out what we can just review, at least we know right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, where is the breakdown? I'm not a doctor, please remember this. But it's almost like when you get a workers' comp and you get hurt. If you go and they give you a URL and they review it and they say yay or nay. So where is this? I mean, is it the way we're billing? Is it somebody's making a decision and they have no idea really what's going on? They're just going by some flip chart.
So a lot of them are Medicaid billings, and Medicare only has a set amount, and then that's where the GEMT program comes in, so we can get recoup some of those funds back, which the funds that I was just talking about were actually from 2024. So we kind of get some of that funding back for Medicare, Medicaid, but otherwise it's usually what the government sets, and that's true.
It's kind of like, Jim, when you look at your explanation of benefits you get from the insurance company, and it says that the doctor or the facility charged you $2,000, but the only allowed amount to charge is 200. So they're disallowing the other 1,800 and they're only gonna pay on that 200. And it's just purely by what codes are in there. And it's the way the federal government's set up. Is it still ICD-10 codes?
So,
ICD-10 codes that have to be put in.
so how can they dispute what the paramedic is providing in the field for level of care?
They decided that they're gonna pay X dollar for that level of care, whether it's here, Los Angeles, New York City. That's what they're gonna pay.
Yeah. They don't yet. When I said like, this is what they think it's worth, it's already, an agreed upon rate that they're gonna be.
And we can get a bit of a higher rate because we're considered super rural, but not.
That's we're gearing up for our levy. Can you come up with a cumulative total and then layer up our average of what we enough for?
Yeah, and you also have to remember that it's not the population.
That's why we-
And I believe it's like 89% of our population is over the age of 65
So who audits them?
in Florence.
Who audits them? That's what I'm getting. Is there somebody
Yeah.
that looks at them and says, wait a minute?
Back in October,
Way
we
out
had a
of
chance
touch.
we weren't gonna get any Medicaid. So, happy at least for that. And the add-on that we get for being super rural is 22%, which is really good. And so, I mean, we're lucky to get that, but they said that could go big.
Gold standard for ambulance billing is if you recover 50%. Just because we have a much higher population.
Of the people we use our ambulance services combined, it's about almost 80%. Is Medicare, Medicaid. Private insurance is where you get a lot of reimbursement, but even now with the new House bill, I don't know the number of it, and balance billing, now insurance companies are starting to get a little bit tricky with that, saying, yeah, I think that this is what that calls for, having no knowledge whatsoever. And so that's becoming a struggle for a lot of places, especially ones that are going in-house. Our billing company, System Design West, I think they're great advocates and they work really hard because we don't get paid yet. And they get a percentage. So they do a really good job.
And I believe in the past, wasn't it, Chief, that the billing company we have will write back, notify you to say, this is missing from the chart and this is missing. And that's how I think that answers what Vanessa was looking for, is they're looking at that and saying, if you did this and you didn't chart it, and if you do chart it, then we can go ahead and try to get some more money out of it. But you can't make up that we didn't do something that we didn't do. But they can go in and do a late chart entry and state that they use, says they started an IV, they did an IO, and you don't put it into the bonus, you can get more for that. And so and if that's actually what they did, then they can go do a late entry, put that in, and that'll up the reimbursement. But I don't think that these guys get audited or corrected on their charts that much from in the past when I used to look at them. But they're excellent with charting and getting all of their particulars into their charts.
So when the medics do their charting in the field with that program, that's where a lot of the information is extracted from. And that's how the billing is.
Yep. And there's only a few tiers that they're going to bill into, and I mean, obviously, there's ways that we could try and make more money. But if our IO needle usage went up by 600%, we're probably going to get out of it.
Thank you.
A little education for you.
What's that?
A little bit of an education.
Oh, big education. 'Cause I was looking at that. So we only get one stab? No, one stab on it to get an actual reimbursement.
And that's where the education, like Mike was saying, is gonna be important with the public when we go for the levy,
Sure.
that we make sure that a lot of, the public doesn't realize that, hey, the bill's this much, but we only got paid this much. You know, this is our cost to run it. This is what we got paid.
We have a lot of different funding sources. We mentioned 40%. Hopefully we see that from Medicare. Where does the other 60% come from?
No, that's how much, out of everything that we bill, we recoup altogether about 40% of our total bill.
And what is the actual cost? Is that 100%?
Yes.
So where does the 60% come from?
Tax money.
Taxes.
All of the taxes, there are no other grants or programs or anything else?
Pretty much tax.
Need to support the program.
To make up that 60% difference.
That's where the gem thing from the legislature helped out a lot.
It would be more than that. Yeah. 40% of what we charge.
So 20% of what is charged. How does that relate to the actual cost of the district of that particular hall? I mean, if it's $1,000, then we get $400. Did it actually cost $1,000? In which case we then have to make up.
Maybe it's a little bit more than that. Yeah, that's why we're dependent on the levies. Absolutely. We get some funding from life ed, but that's sort of a wash. But, yeah, that's why private ambulances, I don't know how they stay.
Yeah.
So a little bit of life med, but otherwise we don't have any other grants. Sources. Make up for that.
Yes. And we've done, analysis of what a call costs in the past. We had to do that for the GEMP program. So we may have to do that here coming up with this new House bill again and reset our rates. I think the last time we reset our rates was 2019. But that was something we just talked about. It was a big discussion at a EMS roundtable that we were at last week.
And even if you raise your rates, you never know what days, you can pay the same amount. And you get some for private insurance, private pay.
It's just going to increase that disallowed amount for Medicare and Medicaid.
I'm just looking to relate the percentage that you give. So basically 40% of the actual cost we are getting back. We have to make it to 60% currently mainly out of tax collection.
Roughly, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions about financial? The whole business, last month we had some policies. Did I skip something? Oh, approving the financials, sorry, we didn't do that. All right. Okay. Do we have any comments or discussion about the policies?
Approval of the financial by district. So we have to approve the financials.
You can't approve it because then you can't audit them.
Yep. That'll be next one. Okay. All right. No discussion on the policies from last one. Okay. New business. You should.
So I put a little map on your desk there and where you're sitting. So just a little background. So if somebody in like unincorporated areas wants to apply for a building permit, they go to the county and they are not currently in a fire district. And most of Oregon's not in a fire district. We've talked about that before. But Lane County says you have to contact the nearest fire department and say, would you annex us? And if you do not want to annex us, would you do a contract? And that's required by Lane County for them to get a building permit. You remember, it was a year ago, 2 years ago, we were talking about somebody up in north. So we had a request to annex because they're building a new house. And that map that's on the left, that's the Google Maps. It's that little red dot up towards the top, to the left there says Cape Creek Ridge. And that's a property, about 40 acres. Homeowners have, there's a mobile home on it now. They want to put a drinking water residence up there. And it's going to be sprinkled. So they asked us if they could annex or have service by contract. Recently, the state passed a law that fire department can annex in properties within 7 road miles of a fire department or fire station. Before, it cost anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 to annex into a fire station. That's why we did annex those properties up at 10 miles. It's just too expensive. Now there is no charge for property owners to annex into a fire district if they're within seven road miles. And that map on the left, that red circle right in the middle, that's the north end of our district. And I've drawn that blue line, which is, I know it's hard to see, but that's Station 4. And if you go up to that red dot, which is that property, that's 6.6 road miles. So we could annex that in. And you see just south of that are sea lion caves. Sea lion caves are not in our district. If there's an emergency there, fire emergency, we could call. But they're not paying any taxes to the district. So there are several properties that I think would be worthwhile annexing in. It's not going to be a tremendous amount of money, maybe $10,000 a year in taxes.
Do we have to notify them?
Yeah, there's a process you have to go through. And that's what I'm reaching out to the board. Do you want me to pursue that? There is one other agency, one other fire department in Lake County that's been doing this. And I talked to that chief and he gave me some pointers. He uses the same attorney we were using for annexation for merging Truman Stone. So there would be some costs with that, but he would have letters. We have to notify them. Now, they don't have to agree to annex in with us. If they do not want to be annexed in, then if we do respond to that property, we charge them 3 times what it costs us to respond. If they ever apply for a building permit, then they automatically will be annexed into our district. So I think most of the properties would want to annex in to us. It would be free at this time, and then they just pay property taxes. Now, on the right side, there's not a whole lot of property. There's a lot of land there, but there's not a whole lot of property. That F2 up towards the top, this is the right hand map. That's that property that contacted me and started this whole process. Off to the left side there, it said RC, that's Sea Lion Caves, as well as that green property right below them. Most of the land here is owned by BLM or ODOT or National Forest or USDA. But there are, like I said, there's about 5 or 6 properties that I think would be worthwhile sending them a notice saying we would like to annex.
Well, the particular site that wants to be annexed or requested this, have we looked at that bridge?
Yes, they gave me an engineer's report.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it passable?
Yeah.
Interesting.
We would not get an aerial across that.
Yeah.
But we could, I think there's plans to maybe replace that bridge.
I saw on the already right there, they has to be active, manned up, so on. Is Station 4 that way?
I don't know that it has to be active, manned up. We do have people that respond to Station 4. We don't have career firefighters there.
Is there a differentiation in that 7 mile limit on if it's a manned station or
That's the question, yeah, to understand.
Well, it has current apparatus that's functional, but
It says under section 2, 1, the fire station means fire station recognized by a fire insurance rating organization. And the fire station is equipped and has personnel to respond to calls.
Yeah, so that would be, so you don't have to have career people living there responding to that station. It's just that you have people that respond to that station.
So does that have the fire insurance rating?
It is considered a fire station. ISO considers that a fire station.
You said they are gonna switch.
That's,
I think that a condition acceptance.
I think it's gonna be over 3,600 square feet.
So
Which would be required.
we as a district have some ordinance that we make any residence build X amount of miles from wherever you want to stipulate that sphere, that it's a condition of approval. They must spray through the structure. Because if there was, I'm just gonna, hear me out. If there was a problem up there and the structure did catch fire, I'm worried about it extending into the vegetation. And then we got a bigger problem. But you say it was the dead of winter and it was pouring down rain. By the time the folks get there, it's gonna be a foundation state. So why wouldn't we want them to do their part? Put a residential sprinkler system. Keep the fire confined to the room or area of origin. It's a life safety system, so the people that are living in there have a better chance of getting out. So I would say from here on out, this would be my recommendation. Anybody that's building new, regardless of square footage, if it's a habitable structure, and they want to be annexed in, they put a residential sprinkler system. We can do that.
We could.
I was reading the law.
No, yeah, we could do that. That would be a big battle.
Well, that's the deal. If you want to be annexed in, do your part and put a sprinkler system. It's pennies on the dollar when they're building.
I think the intent, the engineer told me that they were going to put residential sprinklers.
I get it in writing.
But even, I haven't seen, they haven't submitted for a building. If this is the first step, the county made it go. I think that's a separate question. We can certainly.
I mean, I don't like the idea that we're not gaining something that is going to be beneficial to the entire district.
Tacked on.
And if they're building new, there's no reason why they can't. And if the county's just going to be giving out building permits without, I mean, does the county have a residential sprinkler ordinance? So we have to do it as a district. So if they annex into the district, they have to comply. If they don't, do whatever you want. Well, good luck getting fire insurance. I mean, it's gonna be costly. You put a sprinkler system in, the sprinkler system, it's gonna pay for itself.
But I have been requiring sprinkler systems in lieu of if there's any access issues. So true, but it hasn't been yet. We don't have a mandate for residential sprinkler.
Well, I highly recommend down the road that we look about looking at the district's ordinances, getting one on the books regarding residential sprinklers.
I've talked with the chief who was looking to put in a triple wide, so we're talking about 2,500 square feet. Put sprinklers onto it was $10,000.
Pays for itself. We can't go wrong, try to rebuild, see how much it's gonna cost you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But it might be, as you said, the reduction in insurance.
Oh, it was,
$10,000 square foot. That's probably gonna happen.
the technology has changed, how you can lay out sprinkler systems. One and two family dwelling homes.
So if you annex this property up the road, does that mean everybody in between is gonna be, it's gonna be easier for them to get in because they're gonna say, hey.
I would annex all the privately owned properties and just go ahead and do it.
So does that include, I was trying to remember, Southview,
They're already in.
they're already in?
Yeah, that's that red circle, that's the.
Okay,
So it'll be from there on forward. And they're already in our ambulance service area,
Yeah.
so they already. And most of that property, yeah, it's in the health district as well, so they're paying taxes to the ambulance system. So I guess I'm looking for a motion and a second to pursue this.
Yes, required.
It's SBFR,
It
isn't it?
would be SBFR.
We can,
Looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to explore it.
We can sit back and watch.
Second.
Any discussion?
How many miles is it from the station up to this?
It's 1.6. Yeah, so it's barely. So I was looking at, you see they had the lighthouse to include that, but that's owned by the government, that's BLM land.
Okay. That's government owned.
Yeah, most of the property here that on that map is owned by the government, there's very few privately owned property,
So the Sea Lion Caves operator,
that's privately owned.
that's privately.
So the government, we can't get them to pay for fire protection.
Just like we don't pay taxes. Holly, can you do a roll call vote for SBFR?
Yes. Stephanie Restrepo, Jim Polici,
Yes.
David Carrillo,
Yes.
Lori Heppel,
Yes.
Keith Stanton,
And you should have an agenda bill in your packet for, we're looking at fire extinguisher training equipment. And it's just, over the years, we always get, usually companies, get private citizens asking for fire extinguisher trainings. And it seems like recently we've just been getting a lot. And to do training, we usually, we use a burn pits, so diesel and gas, and then if we have any expired fire extinguishers, we can use that. It's messy and weather dependent. So we're looking at several different companies that make fire extinguisher trainers. We've been proposing to purchase one from the corporation called FIAR. It's a fire extinguisher that has an iPad on it. And I can send, there's YouTube videos out on it. So, and what you do is you scan an area, like you scan this room, and then you can say on your iPad, I want a fire. I want the owl to be on fire, show the owl on fire. And then they have to pull the pin on the fire extinguisher, squeeze the handle, spray and sweep. And it tells you how well you're doing it. It tells you if it was electrical fire, you put water on, the sparks are going to fly. So, I think it would be beneficial to the district to have some equipment. It's required for skilled nursing facilities, probably the hospital too, and a lot of schools. All these facilities require annual fire extinguisher training. We could charge for it. I'm looking to, down the road have some grants to support that program. So, like I have a request from the casino to train all their employees on fire extinguishers. And I think at the same time, I'll be applying for a Three Rivers grant to maybe cover some of the costs. But initially, it would come out of WLFEA funding.
What do we charge for CPR classes?
$65.
65. They are pretty slight.
Yeah. You can choose your extinguisher. You can save simulations. The video on it's pretty.
Sounds like it'd be better for training opportunities, training outside people anyway, because I think a lot of people would be qualified.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be good training to get, especially VPR things, to get people to come over and do the virtual reality fire extinguisher.
Right. Like this, you could take it to their facility and say, this patient's room has a fire. That's how you do it.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
How many extinguishers comes with the kit?
Just one extinguisher.
That's the one.
It has the iPad connected to it. None of them are cheap.
No, they're not.
It's-
They're not.
Yeah.
What's their warranty?
I have to, I don't know, but
Would you say you're looking at the grants, so that if we train other places, we can recoup some of the money back that way too?
eventually, yeah.
I think Bullseye's the originator, were pretty much the ones that started it
Yeah,
with the LED.
yeah, there's the bullseye, that's the one that has a little screen.
Right.
And it has flames on it, and then like your fire extinguisher is a laser pointer, essentially. And it does knock out the flames.
So am I seeing it correctly that it's gonna cost us 13,000 every year after
Nope.
initial purchase?
Just one time. That's one of the other ones that he. Oh,
It is.
the one does have an annual license, yeah, sorry,
That's
that is
not-
13,000.
Okay.
But that's not the one that he recommended. Yeah, we looked at several, those are just the best, three best. They're looking for a motion.
Yeah. Make a motion that we pursue it, purchase
So
it.
just this, okay, there's a motion by Director of Police, is there a second?
I'll second.
This is a WLFEA deal?
Yes.
Not a WLFEA, but okay.
Director Bus, second. Any further discussion? And we'll have a resolution after this meeting part.
You said that there's 13,000 once, I see here that says 13,000 every year.
No, that's one of the three optional, so we have three different quotes. All you can do, roll call vote.
Director Cindy Russell,
Yes.
Linda Stent,
Yes.
Mike Webb,
Yes.
Adam Holbrook,
Yes.
Vanessa Bus,
Yes.
Stephanie Restrepo, Jim Polisi,
Yes.
David Carrillo,
Yes.
Lori Heppel,
Yes.
Keith Stanton.
Yes.
So we didn't budget for this, so there's a resolution in your packet for adopting a supplemental budget. And take some out of operating contingency, which we got more than enough. And then you explain.
Yeah, so I brought it up, using $17,000 just because, pricing for stuff is changing left and right really fast. And so 70,000 should cover it if there's shipping charge or anything of that nature. So we're taking it out of operating contingency and moving it over to fire prevention and materials and services.
We need a motion to accept that resolution or approve that resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Second by Director Grills. Any discussion? You roll call vote. WLFEA.
Director Cindy Russell,
Yes.
Linda Stent,
Yes.
Mike Webb,
Aye.
Adam Holbrook, Vanessa Bus,
Yes.
Stephanie Restrepo, Jim Polisi,
Yes.
David Carrillo, Lori Heppel,
Yes.
Keith Stanton.
Yes.
Question for this, just out of curiosity, if prices are going up and particularly fuel, are we able to add fuel surcharge to our ambulance code?
That's a good question. I don't know.
We charge
I charge mileage, but we could maybe increase mileage.
You might just think about a fuel surcharge while the prices are high, I don't know. We work looking at.
Yeah, I can talk to our billing company and see if, we need to pass, the board needs to pass a resolution, Western State ambulance, to add that just during times of high fuel costs.
Do you remember doing it before? In a long time.
Yeah, let me look into it.
Quick question. This is Lori Heppel. Are there other agencies or things that this is going to be made available to? Or is this just purely for our district?
So give me an example.
for example, there was a bounce house at Coburg that they would lend out to other agencies, but they charged for it. I'm just wondering, we can, for the taxpayers, they can come and they can use it, but what happens when other agencies catch on that we have this piece of equipment? Is it going to be borrowed, or is there going to be some kind of fee attached to it if they want to borrow our trainer?
Would be open to that. I think technically it might be a little difficult. I don't know how difficult the setup is, the operation. We may have to send a person with it, but absolutely.
That's what.
Certainly, if Stapleton and Swiss Home Deadwood wanted, they had some groups that needed to be trained, so that'd be a good job. But yeah, no, I think that I'd be open to that.
So when we get the apparatus in-house, then we need to get a policy written on the loaning of it, or the
Exactly.
something like that, that to cover.
Yeah.
Well, and things get broke too. Firefighters are great at breaking stuff. So I'm just kind of curious and make sure that we kind of look out for everybody's best interest and ours.
Right, next we have the 2 job descriptions that are up for review and along with 3 policies. And then the job descriptions will need to be moved up. Doesn't need to be voted on next month. Okay. Director comments. Do any of the directors wish to make any comments?
I see you're on first call next week, so the transport driver safety operates agency vehicles provide secure, voluntary, non-medical transport. And so the WLCR is providing non-medical transport for people to get sent to hospitals and whatever.
Yeah, and some of it would be, he has a question about the transport that you're providing, where you're going, what kind of, on what occasions you're providing transport for these.
So people that need to get over to shelters, detox facilities, non-medical appointments, no either all type of appointment.
I know there's a group that's starting up a business here for non-medical transport. It used to be operating out in Eugene, and now they're going to be operating Eugene and Florence. So is that the same for everything that will be available through WLCR?
I don't know what they're doing, so I can speak on that.
Basically, instead of medical transport, it's a non-medical transport. And people are talking about primarily being funded through Medicare. That's what, so somebody needs to build, they don't have vehicles, so they get to transport. As opposed to
was it right source?
As opposed to a crisis situation, which is what WLCR is supposed to be, crisis.
Was it right source that you heard of the company?
No.
Okay.
Something that I saw. Took out in corporation in February. So last month.
I haven't heard of anything. I know that Right Source is big in the Eugene area, and they can contract to reimburse. Usually they don't have the capacity to send somebody over for these types of transports. And so that's the only one that I know of.
It's part of our sustainability plan to do harder with Right Source in the future.
We do use them quite a bit also. And they send people from Eugene. I mean, if we have somebody, they'll take it back.
Yeah, it might be easier for them. And that's something that we did talk to. I have spoken with our billing company about is maybe making a contract for some of those, whether that be through Booker, whether that be through the ambulance. I don't necessarily think any of the ambulance needs to get involved in that, but making a contract directly with Right Source. Because it might be easier for them to just say, hey, yeah, we'll just pay that fee. And they're kind of the middleman between Medicare and then us.
Well, I want to say thank you. So I know that your guys' job is to transport patients, but I know that it does hurt our community. Folks that are driving, if you have a patient, non-emergency transport for a local person, you need to go to a rehab facility, put over in Salem. And you guys graciously said we need to care of that, so I just want to thank you for that. But I know that's pretty strange on this. So, very, very helpful. Appreciate it.
And I had a opportunity to go to a lunch gathering of some of the present and former EMTs from Western Maine. And it was quite a realization to sit at that table. This young man sitting next to me started out as a paramedic with our district, and he's now an anesthesiologist in Texas. He's working in a facility that has 60-bed operating suites going. And
6 elephants.
Pardon?
6 elephants. Yeah, 6 elephants.
And he's an instructor there too.
6 hours.
And across from me was a young man that started out as an EMT with us, and he is now respiratory therapy in a children's hospital in Utah. And he's flight certified, isn't he, Rob?
I don't know.
Is he, Melissa?
Yes, he's been riding along with them.
And then down the line, there were three retired EMTs from our group that had put in, I think the lowest number of years that one of them has put in is well over 20 years. And then we had Chief Chancellor there. Another one to start out with. I don't know that you started fresh with us, but you were.
Started my medical career. I started as a firefighter somewhere else.
Yeah, you started with us as an EMT, right?
No, as a medic. Back then we didn't have EMTs.
Okay.
We were just, intermediates, but yeah.
But just to sit at that table and realize what our district has brought to this community and to other communities was just, it was awe-inspiring to sit there and to think that, our district had a lot to do with, I think we had a lot to do with growing and nurturing all those young men. And I think it's just something worth noting and realizing of what we give to our community.
Any other comments? All right, next we will be entering into executive session per ORS 192.66028 to consider the employment of a public officer.
Director's comments listed on the agenda first.
That's what you did. Oh, I'm sorry.
We're discussing the job descriptions. We have something I need to share it. See if we can do a share here. Across on the share screen.
Not yet. Looks like you're sharing.
So there are 4 items. I'll share with the board. First is that I represent the board on the Planning Council of Governments. They had a meeting last month. It was on the 26th of February. There's really not too much particular to this board. Most of the time it's discussion on a 45-page senior and disability services plan for 4 years from 2025 to 2029. So we'll go into number 2 item. And that's a report on the conference. Just happened. 2026 SDAO annual conference. These are the sheets of the 3 days. Out of that, because I feel that taxpayers are going to send me to a conference, I should try to bring back to the board and to the workforce information. Maybe answer questions if I send some questions. So I tend to attend that conference as soon as they open up the door until they kick me out after the evening events. There were 6 sessions that I was able to attend. I'm going to report on 4. About 29 vendor tables there. Really, the only information I have coming from 1. And of course, about the evening events. The keynote speech, in particular, was dealing with media threats. You see here the idea of not questioning yourself away, but actually being accessible and talking, but at the same time, not trying to do too much by way of the visual of the world. Report. Now, one thing that came up was that if an incident occurs that might be misconstrued, it's very important, especially on social media, to get out there, get ahead of the move across, so that you're not having to do damage control. Matter of fact, easiest way to deal with something that does happen, police, you simply say, the police are collecting it and they will report it instead of trying to get into it ourselves. An idea that I thought was really good was to have the perfect cue cards at everybody's desks so that when there is an inquiry of some kind, person there, receptionist, or anybody else, pull out the card and respond in a way that's going to be beneficial instead of trying to fumble through it or try to rely on past experiences. When it actually here's what we figured out would be the best way to respond. Simple little cue card. It's kind of like an emergency folder. You just reach for it and say, okay, here's what I can say. The next is employee litigation. Primary areas remain sexual allegations. Now, SDAO offers a $25,000 discount if the member was a pre-loss conference. That is, when we see something coming before it gets to that point, to bring in SDAO and say, hey, we'd like to talk about what might be happening and how best to handle it so that we can avoid making things worse. One way, of course, is to have established full employee files, job descriptions, certifications, evaluations, all of that information. So that's fully documented, including what positions they've held, how they progressed through their career. I understand in the fire department there is a point system so that promotions can be done on a neutral basis. And since here they're going to court, there's not too many cases that actually go into trial. And usually take a number of years. But even after that, the desire to reinstate the worker should be avoided. There's just too much bad blood. We are looking at a ballot measure. It should be some key messages, which are a few sentences repeated often. Some of this stuff really should be going out there already beforehand, trying to create a foundation so that when it does come time to ask for additional funding, the public already knows and has a good idea of what you're doing. So who we are, what we do, what challenges we're facing. Okay, so we're talking ballot measure. We're talking about a solution, the benefits, the impacts to the taxpayer. And very important, put out there a contingency of what if this ballot measure does not pass? What should the public expect? And it's important that after the ballot has passed or not, that there is a report down the road as to the effects of either the passage or non-passage. There's currently a levy that has been passed. Well, what has been the real benefit? As the public know, so that we come along and say, we'd like to reinstate this, but or increase it, whatever. They say, oh, okay, well, I see that the last one benefited X amount. I'm going to be more in favor or not of the next. Under Oregon Ethics Commissions, it states that it's okay to educate, but not to advocate. The thing we put out can be to educate over the needs, what this is going to go to, how much it's going to cost. So And also, of course, what to expect doesn't include it. In previous conferences, there have been discussions, presentations about how to set up an implementation plan. Way again, it started way before anything even comes out to the media. And with meetings with materials to media, and basically also preparing for any issues that may arise before they arise. Another session was about onboarding done right. So this is focused on employees. I think it also deals with everybody including the board. Orientation versus onboarding, that is to say short-term versus long-term. Orientation is talking about producing, onboarding is talking about building a team. Focus here is on mentoring, breaking down the fears, allowing the means and path for growth into whatever role, position, or job is involved. Creating a folder of how to do the onboarding for the director, paid worker, the volunteer. Each of these would be a different kind of a folder. And then there's going to be setting what the expectations are, providing the documents, clarifying the role, trying to make things smooth and inclusive. Figuring out some sort of a timeline so we know what to expect. Setting up meetings with the key players. Keeping in mind that the desire is to create a healthy team in order to get healthy outcomes. Talking to vendors, basically one that I have to bring forth. The SDAO membership has free access to the business Amazon Prime. Actually, I mean, said that only the 2 separate districts have a business Amazon, while the combined has a Amazon Prime. Is that correct? All right, so I'm shaking over there, saying yes, it is. Now, if fire side or the ambulance side are doing segregated purchasing Amazon, perhaps all entities should have the free access of business Amazon Prime. Doesn't cost anything. We shouldn't be paying anything, even for what we have. This is part of the membership. I also noticed that the people who put together these conferences, they only give the vendors 1 day. So you've got 30 vendors out there, grand vendor tables, you try to catch the sessions, and by the end of Friday, they're moving out. This is like, wait a minute. So I suggested that perhaps we should allow them to spend at least another day, because the conference goes through Saturday. Yes, my favorite here, lodging. When I started this, cost was $282 per night per director. I'm glad to see that that's been brought down a great deal. But this latest one was $106, although Director Russell had 5 days. I'm not sure what the extra 2 days were about, but also instead of 106, it was $129 a night. If you average it all together, we're talking about $113 a night. Meanwhile, I'm down there at 69. Had everything that we needed. Very comfortable facility. So we've come from 282 down to 113, but still not down to 50 to 70. At least that's what I've been getting. And I would invite the directors perhaps to join me in arranging ourselves for the taxpayer paid lodging to be less. After all, aren't we asking for another tax levy and an increase in the tax levy?
I have a question for you, Director Stanton, when you have a moment.
I'd be patient. Here we have
I'm patient, trust me.
I was in the Hillcrest Inn. It's a bit of 1960s nostalgia, but quite suitable. And this year was only 5 minutes away from the actual conference site. Number 4, public meeting law. Besides myself, I have Cindy Russell. Has anybody else gotten certified? There was an opportunity to go an extra day before the conference when they were giving the course. Anybody attend that? Okay, as you see here, every time we hold an office, we're required to go through this. Now, the SBAO has made available to its membership a free course. which makes it so much easier. And this through the vector solutions. Here's the procedures to go through to find it. And it's in modules, a few minutes for this one, a few minutes for the next one. So easy to go through, and every one of us consequently could be certified and qualified, having met and been in compliance with this particular law by this next meeting. One thing that I brought up in the past, and I noticed that it even came up in a newsletter from the STAO about a month and a half ago, is in emails saying reply all. And I addressed this in previous time. I was delighted to see immediately thereafter when I made the addressed in director's comments that the chief put as his first line, please do not reply all. I thought that was great. It was a good reminder. Only did it a few times, and now I'm seeing emails with reply all again appearing. This is a violation, and it can lead to problems. So once again, stress, and I would almost suggest that perhaps whenever staff or anybody sending to 2 or more directors, that we put in there, first line, please do not press reply all. If there's a reply, it will just to the person who's sending. And that is my director's comments. Thank you for your attention. I return the favor.
All right, this is Director Heppel. I have a question for Director Stanton. Could you please pull item number 3 up, please, the lodging? I'd like to know what metric you're using for your lodging. That is a question to you.
Is it by metric?
Yeah, what's your metric that you're using to say that we're spending more money than we should?
Basically, lodging consists of a comfortable bed, sleep-in, showers, bathroom facility, white, climate control, Wi-Fi, easy access to the conference. Think of it as a Motel 6 situation. Nothing fancy. Now, the first time when it was a $282, I was flabbergasted to see that. I was put into a place that had 2 floors. On each floor was a full bathroom. On the upper floor was 2 beds. I only need 1.
I'm going to stop you there. I'm asking what your metric is, not your personal preference, sir.
Leading out to a deck. And all I needed was a simple little Motel 6 place.
I know you're simple, but I'm asking if you have a metric that goes with it. Because if you look it up, there is a government per diem, and if you look at everybody's rates, they're well within that rate. It does not include taxes or fees or meals or anything like that. So you're out of line, and I'm not going to sit and put up with this anymore. So what is your metric other than your personal metric? Because not a single person, after I did the calculations, exceeded. And so a lot of us were under it.
We put down the cost that would be put into me by the staff, total cost, which should include all the fees and taxes.
No, it doesn't, sir. Not from a government per diem rate. And that's the metric that we should be using. So maybe you need to go back and you need to do some schoolwork before you come to the board and just ramble on and talk about flea-ridden beds, and just, you need to come up with the metric. And I would encourage you to go and look at the government per diem one and see if we're still in alignment, because we were definitely under that. And I don't enjoy listening to you parrot the conferences that we all went to, because you don't even cite sources, and it's just a bunch of jumble.
Well, I think that
I look at this as simply other people's money. I don't care if some agency says, oh, you can take the windows $500 to $1,000 a day. I'm looking at the fact that this money comes out of somebody's pocket.
So you don't care about what the government states? Because that's what I care about. I actually have a metric, not a personal opinion.
you have something to share?
And that is a fact.
Wrap this
Also,
up.
I might point out that, all of us that went to the conference, none of us put in for mileage or for gas money, but yet you took a district vehicle. So we're not incurring that cost on the district because we're not running their vehicles into the ground, running conferences, we're using our own vehicles, our own gas money, our own transportation costs. Whereas you're using a district vehicle. So if you add that into what cost you have for a hotel room, maybe that brings us up to what we spend on our hotel rooms.
That would be good to have access to that kind of information. However, I'm also utilizing the district vehicle to be an
Which is
economic
tax
partner
paid.
with the invitation to carpool, because it could easily take 3 to 4 people. And I hope somewhere along the way that instead of 4 or 5 people going in different vehicles, especially since that is using up gas, polluting our air that much more, and hospitals, that we will actually start to carpool, and then that metric goes away.
I won't be in a vehicle along with you.
All right.
I definitely don't agree with you, Director Stanton. I think you're off base. I did not occur anything when I drove POV. I did not ask for meal reimbursement or gas mileage or anything. The district simply paid for my conference and my hotel room, and that is it. I didn't take advantage of anything, and I'm within the government metric. That is the per diem rate. So I think, again, you need to go back and do some homework of your own and then come back and actually provide facts. And I'm disappointed in you.
Executive session. Yeah, I gotta reread. Okay. So now we will enter into executive session for ORS 192.66028 to consider the employment of public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent. Everyone else can be excused.
Back in public session. There will be next regular board meeting is Thursday, April 23rd at 6 p.m. There will be a special meeting Monday, March 30th at 6 o'clock.
We need to just announce when it's for
For executive session.
discussion of real estate.
Yes. I don't have any. Okay, now is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good evening.
I'll get those to you.